CargoWise Landside is deeply committed to revolutionizing landside logistics. With a complete enterprise system built for modern trucking and container drayage operators that includes proven drayage transportation management, digital rate and quote management, real-time container track and tracing, and on-demand truck, trailer, and container storage. Excellence in container drayage starts with the right software. Enhance transportation management, optimize shipment execution, and improve intermodal business operations with Trinium TMS, Draymaster, GeoStamp Track, and SecureSpace. To learn more, please visit cargowise.com/landside.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to TPM Today, the May 9th episode. I'm your host, Eric Johnson. I am the Senior Technology Editor at the Journal of Commerce and the host every second and fourth Friday of the month for this show, which I love doing. This is one of my favorite parts of every week, is getting to talk to some of the most interesting people in our industry about things like technology and trade, tariffs on everybody's mind right now. So I have a guest this week who I'll talk about a little bit later, who kind of is right at the intersection of all of this right now. So really excited to talk to him. But before I get to that, a few things to highlight over the next few weeks. We have Journal of Commerce has a webcast coming up May 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern, talking about the technology that is impacting the world of global trade, navigating trade uncertainty. It's everybody's favorite topic these days. So I'm going to talk with a consultant and a couple customs brokers about how they're sort of managing the onslaught of regulations that are coming their way and demand from shippers to kind of comply with all the crazy tariffs that are happening left, right, and center, and how they're using technology to sort of assist with that. So definitely register for that. It's free. You have to register. The link to register is in the comments, but it's free, and really hope to see you on May 20th. Later that day, I'll be flying to Nashville for Home Delivery World, where I'll be speaking on a couple different panels. One about, you guessed it, tariffs, and another about last mile, speaking with an Amazon exec about how they think about innovating on the driver payment space. So super excited to be in Nashville. That event is fun for me. I get to dip my toes into an arena that I don't talk about or write about a lot. So it's a great way for me to catch up with a bunch of different vendors and 3PLs in that space. And Nashville's always cool. Good food, good music. So hope to see you there. I know Sarah from Let's Talk Supply Chain will also be there. So come and find us. Inland 25, I can't say it's fast approaching. We're still like 5 months out, but for us, the planning is well underway, and we are super excited about the program this year. We are actually almost pretty much tied up with the program. We're like 90% of the way there because we know exactly who we want and what we want to talk about. But I do want to highlight that May 25th is the end of early bird pricing. So it's a very affordable event. In the context of what you get at the event, I can't stress enough. It's an awesome event. My colleagues, Ari Ash and Bill Cassidy, the strongest reporters in their field. They know exactly who they want to talk to and what they want to talk about. Great networking. You're not going to get a better rate to attend than if you register in the next 16 days. So do it. All right, quickly. I thought I'd highlight a story this week that doesn't have anything to do with trade or tariffs or what's going on in the world of global trade policy. So I thought I'd focus on, I wrote a little sort of commentary analysis, not really a story, about some work that a guy named Ed Burns, who some people listening in may know. He and his dad are sort of very well known in the industry. They run a company called Burns Logistics, which is a 3PL. Over the last year, they've launched another project called True Signal, which is sort of a marketplace for shippers and small carriers to match up their capacity needs and their available capacity. Really kind of innovative way to approach this divide that has been there for a long period of time, which is small carriers have a tough time getting the attention of or being even known by shippers. Shippers have a hard time sourcing small carriers, so they end up going to brokers or using large kind of for-hire carriers. So really innovative approach. Definitely encourage you to read this story well worth your time to sort of understand what is behind this and the thought process that went into developing it and what they hope to achieve with it. So yeah, it just felt like we needed to talk about something other than tariffs. But I'm going to swiftly move right back into the trade compliance and tariff world with my guest this week. Sambuddha Basu is CEO of a company called Anchor or Anchor AI?
Anchor AI.
Anchor AI. Okay. This is a relatively new rebrand, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we'll get into that. Sam, thanks so much for joining. I think we met earlier this year, if not end of last year. And I have to say, like, we'll get into what you do. So don't steal your own thunder here. But I have to say the thing that you're doing, I have talked about in the context of what AI is doing to the logistics and trade compliance world. I think I've talked about what you're doing more than anything else I've talked about. So super excited to talk more about that. But before we get into what Anchor is, do you want to just give people a little bit of background on who you are, what you did before founding Anchor?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Eric, for having me, and nice to see you again. We met at TPM at a bunch of other events. But hi, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Anchor AI. Before the whole Anchor thing, let me kind of go back the memory lane and see where we started. So I actually started writing code in 5th grade, sold my first software in high school, studied computer science at IIIT, which is the top school for computer science in India. And then straight out of school, joined Google, so moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. At Google, I was a senior software engineer, wrote a lot of code, worked on teams like YouTube. So led a lot of projects on YouTube and Google Assistant, where I got to work with AI and machine learning and kind of saw what technology can do. And very early on, it was amazing to see how technology is changing lives. Everyone who had access to internet was getting the same knowledge. So that was very powerful for me. Now, a few weeks after ChatGPT launched, I decided this is the best time to build a company. So I actually quit Google a few weeks later and started building my own AI startup. So for the last over 2 years, I have been building AI startups. So that's my background.
Wow, 5th grade coding, huh? So my son's in 6th grade right now. He's already like behind the curve. Although I think with Cursor and all those other he's probably not even gonna have to learn how to code at some point. So I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing to learn how to code, but ever. But we'll get into that. That's a whole other part of the discussion. So what is Anchor? Who are your customers? Where did the idea come from? If you were working in Google and nothing to do with global trade necessarily, like how did that idea come about?
Yeah, so simply put, Anchor is AI for customs brokers. So our AI has already helped custom brokers clear over $350 million of goods that came into the US. So that's a huge amount. Every day we are helping custom brokers clear over $5 to $10 million of goods. So before saying what Anchor is, let me tell you what custom brokers are. I mean, a lot of people already know who they are. Custom brokers are the people who are looking at a lot of shipment documents and then making sure they're up to date with the regulations, and then filing necessary paperwork with government agencies, like it can include CBP, FDA, USD, and other agencies, so that goods that come to the ports can legally enter the country. So there's a lot of hard work that happens behind the scenes. So first of all, would want to thank custom brokers for
very
doing
busy people these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun thing to see is, Eric, if you look around, everything that you see, almost all of it came from a different country. So it's amazing to see that almost all of them had to clear customs. So it's such a big part of our life. Now, where I got introduced to this is a friend of mine does a lot of imports from Turkey. And he said every time we ship products to the US, we have to go through customs, and it's a big nightmare because sometimes the goods are held at customs, and it's a kind of very painful process. So that got me very interested in the subject. So I did a lot of reading. And in fact, customs is not something that's new. Customs started back in 4,000 years back in Mesopotamia, where trade just started happening. And since then, we have had these topics of tariffs and customs. Now, I was coming from Google, where everything was digitized, everything was working as expected. So once the friend told me, I kind of went deeper into the rabbit hole and saw how it all works. So I called a lot of these customs brokers and I said, hey, this is what AI can do. And all of them said, there's no way AI can help with customs. But they were still excited. So they said, why don't you come visit our office and then see what AI can do? So I went to their offices, sat there for many weeks, and that was the eye-opening moment where I saw fax machines and typewriters in their offices. They're printing out all of these like bills of lading, commercial invoice packing list, putting them in a yellow manila file. And then I saw this fat book over 4,000 pages, which helps them do the classification. So everything that you import has to, there needs to be a classification done, which just says the table that you import from a different country has to pay, for example, 25% tariff. A chair that you import might have to pay just 15% tariff. So I saw all of that, and then I saw there's so many data entry writers, and they're logging into their system of records like a CargoWise or a Descartes, and they're manually putting all the details into that software. And they were just joking, like, we do this for 10 hours a day, and sometimes we might get carpal tunnel. And that was very eye-opening for me.
Okay, so great rundown, by the way. I think if there's two groups that have historically been overlooked in our space, it's drayage providers and customs brokers. My last guest was a drayage provider. You're talking about like kind of the plight of customs brokers. So it's good to highlight these people that don't get a lot. I mean, everybody's getting logistics is getting attention, but all the little nuances of it are not. So, okay. Let me ask a question. So you're starting this company, you have this kernel of an idea. You want to start the company. There's like two paths, and there's more than two paths, but just generally there's two paths. You can build a SaaS tool that for existing sort of intermediaries, in this case, customs brokers, or you can build a digitally enabled customs broker yourself. Why did you choose the kind of SaaS route versus like the digitally enabled intermediary?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Eric. So first of all, the way I got into the industry more is I started attending conferences and events, spoke with a lot of custom brokers, and just want to say like the amount of warmth and love I got from custom brokers is great. That helped me connect, and some of them kind of went down the memory lane with me where they said, hey, like back in the days when we started our business, we had to print these documents and we had to physically go to the officers in the CBP building and hand them. So going from there,
customs house, like a lot of the ports had customs houses, right? Yeah.
So they went from there all the way to computers and now AI. So I kind of saw what it is. It's all about connecting with humans and helping humans. So I said, like, rather than trying to replace anyone, let's see how I can empower them. So they already have their businesses. They're doing a lot of these entries or doing the clearances. So I said, we are great at creating software. Let's kind of empower these people and enable them to do much more now. So what that means is, especially right now with all the tariff changes that's coming from the administration, this is more relevant than ever, which is previously if you could do some certain number of clearances in a day, now that productivity has dropped because of the new regulations about de minimis. There's regulations about steel, aluminum, auto parts, electronics, and I can go on. And what ends up happening is you have to hire a lot more people, and hiring skilled knowledge workers is very difficult. And then you have to keep retraining them every week. You have to keep changing your SOPs. So what we said is, let's create an AI where document extraction is just table stakes, but let's see how the AI workforce or the AI agent can stay up to date with the newest regulations that's coming out from the administration.
So, okay, I want to ask, can you sort of walk people through how this works in practice? So, I mean, you sort of described the existing process. If I want to sort of use an AI agent for that classification process, or if I want to create a customs entry, how does the agent sort of factor into that process?
Yeah, so it's very straightforward. So as a custom brokers, you are getting a lot of emails from your customers. These emails will usually have a lot of shipment documents, as I said, bills of lading, commercial invoice, packing list, and arrival notices. all you do is you just forward that or send that email to the AI. That's all you have to do.
Okay.
Now, think of it as an AI employee.
It's just an email address, basically.
Yes.
Yep.
And very important thing to know about customs is all about compliance. So we take privacy and security very seriously. It's in fact in the very core DNA of the company. So legally, any entry that gets written has to be done in the US. So we make sure that the servers we have, they're super secure. They're running on Google Cloud that are physically present in the US. We monitor who has access to these documents and who has access to these servers. Next, what happens is once you send the email, everything happens in the background. So think of it like you're hiring someone, but it's not a human, it's an AI employee. So what the AI employee will do are there are actually different employees for different work. So there is one employee for classification. There's one employee that checks, hey, the shipment documents that I have, can I reconcile them? And are they related to the same underlying shipment? If they're not, then they will flag you and say, Eric, these documents do not match, please contact your customer. So next step after the document matches is it'll go to the AI employee who does the HTS classification. Now, this is very tricky. When I first got started, I thought it's as simple as reading a book, but it's not, because there are so many regulations about anti-dumping, countervailing duty, about forced labor that you have to do some reference checks on. So, I mean, table stakes is getting the chapter heading and subheading right inside the HTS code. So HTS code is a 10-digit code. So you have to get all of that right. Now, we rely a lot on confidence scores, which says if the AI is not confident in the output that it gave, it will actually flag for review. So it'll say, Eric, this is the best HTS that I came up with. In fact, here are 3 similar ones. Please help me decide, because you have all these years of experience doing customs clearance. Please help me decide which one is the right HTS. Once that's...
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so once that's done, it'll then, like how a human would, it'll open your CargoWise or your Descartes or your system of records, and it'll actually click on buttons and actually type in places. So it looks very magical when you see the demo. It feels as if it's a robot sitting inside a computer who is doing all the typing. And what happens is if you're doing the whole process manually, it's taking you hours. We have cut down the time to just minutes. So within 2 to 3 minutes, you get an email reply saying, this is the entry that was filed. This is the entry number. And then we highlight any things that we want you to kind of pay extra attention to. Legally, we are not allowed to transmit to the CBP, so we never do that. It's on the custom brokers to review it. A review takes less than a minute, and then they can transmit.
So everything up to the point where the entry is sort of keyed into the system of record, but before the ABI, the automated broker interface, to CBP, that has to be transmitted by a real human being.
A licensed custom broker.
Licensed, not just a real human being, but a licensed customs broker that's domiciled in the US at the time
Yes.
of the, yeah, right. Just to be clear on that. Lots of compliance issues related to that I think some companies are maybe struggling with. Okay, very interesting. So on the classification piece, it's interesting you say that seemed like something that was maybe easier than it ended up being. I mean, I can recall 12 years ago going to a user conference for a global trade management system, and they were talking about automating classification 12 years ago, right? And obviously the tools in 2013 are not what they are today, but this kernel of an idea around this has been around for a long period of time. Why are we, from a technical standpoint, why are we there now whereas we weren't a decade ago?
So the biggest difference is customs or these different regulations were built for humans. They were not built for algorithms. So what that means is a lot of it is how a human interprets it. The classic example I've heard of that is if you have a keychain that also has a flashlight, do you classify it as a flashlight or do you classify it as a keychain?
Right.
Now, what has happened with these LLMs or these large language models is they have gotten much, much better at understanding human language. So now we can have much more semantic understanding of what it actually is. So if there is a product that just says shirt, the LLM or the model or the AI will want to have a deeper understanding of, is this a cotton shirt? Is this like what type of material is it, what's the use for the shirt.
Buttons, is it a t-shirt?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more intricacies now that the models can understand. And with these agentic models, they can also reason. So they can say, okay, if this is a shirt, and then I'm looking at these other cases where the shirt was classified with this code, in this example, can I classify it? And it also has access to tools, so it can go search the internet for kind of relevant materials. And even after all of that, if it has low confidence, we make it super easy for a human to be in control, because the licensed broker should always be in control. They are the experienced ones. AI is just a helpful tool.
Yeah, I can recall another event about 5-6 years ago. They had it was a footwear importer conference, and one of the things they do at the end of every conference is they brought 3 brokers up, and they brought a shoe, and they asked them how each of them would classify it. And it's an art, it's not a science, right? Because you can say, oh, well, this little insert on the sole means that you can classify it this way, and the lace means you can classify it this way. So it's very interesting to hear how the LLMs are sort of like leveling up to sort of incorporate that type of expertise. How do you, I mean, I've had a few chats on this show, and just obviously a ton of chats at events about kind of trying to demystify AI for people who maybe understand what ChatGPT is, maybe understand what Grok or Claude or their internal LLMs are.
Yeah.
How do you sort of demystify it for people who, are maybe pushing against it, or just kind of like they're just not getting it, or feel like it's very mysterious?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you have to see why they're reacting to it in such a way. The biggest insight we have found is these large language models or these AI models are like a black box. So you don't really know what's happening inside. I mean, a fun exercise for all of you listening in is AI is great at solving like very difficult PhD level math questions. But if you ask it something simple like how many R's are there in a strawberry, in the word strawberry, it will always get it wrong.
Interesting.
So that is very interesting, where you see like these models are so capable, but you don't really know how it's acting or why it's acting in a certain way. It's very unpredictable.
Sort of like idiot savant kind of.
Yeah, it's very difficult to express. I mean, they're very intelligent, and at the same time, they get like very basic things wrong. So there's a whole concept of hallucination, which a lot of people have heard, which is the AI will make things up, and oftentimes it might not be right. So our expertise is our team is former Google senior engineer, former LinkedIn senior engineers, and our co-founder and CTO is a former AI researcher. So we have been growing up with these technologies. So the first thing we tried is how can we make it super transparent for anyone who's using it. For example, if it's coming up with a classification, or when it's extracting from a document, how can we kind of anchor it? I mean, that's how the name Anchor AI also came in, but how can we anchor it into like real data points? So if you say like this is a ETA and an ETD for a shipment, is this coming from an arrival notice? Is this coming from a bill of lading? So it makes your life as a custom broker very easy when you are reviewing certain things. So
you have the source for the answer, not just an abstract answer, basically.
Yes. And this comes a lot from research. So when you go into PhD side of things, there is a lot of focus on citations. So when you're giving certain answers, you want to kind of, the source of truth should be from a published paper. So we make sure when we are giving our information, the source of truth should be from a valid document. And this is how easy it is to reference that document. So I would say take out the magic from the AI and just make it very simple. And if you're still curious, or you're hearing other people talking about AI, it's not a question of if you need AI. Now it's just a question of when you need AI. So the best thing to do is try it out for a week or a month. Have clear expectations from the AI. And those expectations can be, I'm spending a lot of time writing entries. And then this is the kind of amount of margins that I want to save with AI. So have those expectations, try it out for a week or a few days, and see if it does meet your expectations. Now, everything should not be done by AI. So customs and in fact even logistics, if you look at other things like warehouse and freight, is humans working with other humans. So it's all about trust. So when your cargo goes missing or when your cargo does not clear customs, you have to have a human. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want a bot responding to you in those situations.
Yes. So it's how can we put the humans who are in control, how can we just give them more superpowers?
Okay, so a couple questions, sort of more around the market. Okay, I think we talked, when we first talked, you talked about how quickly the development world, the developer world is moving on things. Like prototypes take days, if not hours, instead of 6 months to 18 months, right? How do you sort of think about like where you will have long-term success in an environment where there might be someone like you tomorrow who thinks up a similar idea and maybe develop something, and the time to catch up to you is not as long as it used to be?
It's a very good question. Now, in fact, as you said, it's very right. People are building demos in hours. The real art, and I say art because building software is art. Demos are very easy. Building a really good product is very, very difficult. And that's where our expertise working at big companies like Google and LinkedIn come into play. Whereas oftentimes startup move very fast, which is a great thing. But when you're dealing with a field like customs, you have to take it into a matured understanding of how the industry works.
They want reliability.
Yes, so very early on, you have to make sure you have the right privacy security policies. In fact, all the people I've talked to, I tell them, think of me as an AI technician. You should ask these questions too. I encourage everyone to ask these questions. Like when I'm uploading a document on ChatGPT, do you know where that document is going? Do you know who has access to those documents? Do you know which countries the document is being read to? Do you know if they're using those documents to train their AI? Yeah. So we have very strict policies where we do not cross-train the AI, which means we do not take data from you, train the AI, and we will not serve that AI for someone else. We will only use it for your future shipments. So it takes a very matured understanding of how to build software, where you have to move fast, but you have to take into consideration that these are real people's lives. And these are real licensed custom brokers. If AI does something wrong, then the license
are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yes. So you have to always think of what can go wrong and how can I avoid those risks.
So one last question before I get to the last question that I ask every guest. So one last question. So I've talked about this a lot in various different categories of software. This is a fragmented industry. It seems like it will forever, to my view, it will be forever fragmented. Is there any reason to think that that won't happen in your world? Or do you see a world where, or do you see a development in your world where there could be some consolidation and like a dominant platform? I mean, I guess you could say some of the platforms you mentioned are quite dominant, but they're not, they don't have a stranglehold over the entire industry like SAP or Salesforce do in their respective. Do you think we'll ever see that, or is this destined to be kind of a fragmented industry?
It's interesting. I've been spending some time thinking about this. I feel there will be consolidation with the current AI tools. But these softwares, the names that you've mentioned, these softwares have done a great job kind of moving all the way from typewriters to where we are right now. But innovation is the key. Now with all these new AI models, we have to see how not to replace software. But the main goal is how can you make software so easy so that humans don't have to learn a new software? It's the other way around, where machines or AI is learning, kind of watching how you're doing things, learning from there, and then making your lives much better. So I do expect consolidation. And what I mean by that is there will be a collaboration from the existing players who have done a great job, along with the kind of newer AI tools. And once they get combined, it'll make the broker's life much easier.
Good answer. We'll see. We'll see. That's a great thought. All right. Last question. Who's your favorite band or musician? And you have to tell me why.
Yeah, it's Coldplay. Chris Martin is great. There's some sense of like uplifting or cheerful sense whenever I see him play or sing. So that has to be the one.
Cool. Yeah, I know. I've never seen them live, but every show that I see, like video, that everyone looks really happy. Like, so I get what you're saying. I think you're at least the second person who said Coldplay, so I think they're the leading like TPM Today
Awesome.
band. So yeah, that's another vote for them. Well, Sam, thank you so much. Awesome conversation. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is you can go to our website, useanchor.ai, or you can reach me directly at sam@useanchor.ai. And let's have a chat. I mean, if you have any questions about in general how AI works, happy to kind of go over those things as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Glad you could join me today, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Dad joke of the week. Before I get to that, thank you, Fun Show. Thank you, Cynthia, and a couple of the other commenters for some great comments today. Hope you enjoyed the show. It sounds like it was informative. It was definitely informative for me. All right, Dad joke of the week time. What do you call an email explaining how to read maps backwards? Spam. It was literally right there in front of you. You just needed a second. Maybe I said the punchline too quickly, but that's like a good dad joke. So in any case, thank you all again for attending TPM Today. We have another great show. I have a really good show. One of my favorite people in the industry. I'm going to be talking to her in 2 weeks. So much to talk about. Can't wait. That's May 23rd. That's right up against the end of early bird pricing at Inland. So register now. I'm telling you, it's going to be an amazing event in Chicago. Register now. Thank you to Sarah and the Let's Talk Supply Chain team. Thank you to Nicole, the world's greatest show producer. But most of all, thank you. And Sam, obviously, for his great thoughts. But most of all, thank you. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Have a great weekend.